High security team for the Rottnest Hotel Red Hot Summer event, which is being held on the 14th of Jan. Look, I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a briefing prior to getting to site. The reason being is that once we get on site and we've got a series of different scheduled times for getting to site, it's literally going to be hit the ground running, and we'll need to be in position straight away for the event. So the event is it's Suzi Quatro, the Baby Animals, the Screaming Jets. Then there's a number of different rock bands. So our demographics is going to be roughly around the anywhere from 45 to 55 years age group as a probably as a general rule. However, there's going to be 4,500 people coming to the event on that particular day. So it's going to be extremely busy, and we're certainly going to be packed out probably from, I'd say, just before gates open, so roughly around 11 o'clock, right the way through to when the event closes. At this point in time, it's roughly around 6 o'clock the event's going to be closing, but I would dare suggest that we'd be pushing past that. We'd be pushing around probably 8 o'clock would probably be around the time that we'd be finishing, but it's just dependent on the day and how long people stay back for and everything else like that. So as I said, the demographics, they're going to be music enthusiasts. There's going to be people that love their rock music. There's going to be some young ones that are going to be probably at the front, jiving, dancing away, right the way through to some mature people that probably want their space. So we're going to have to be very respectful on how we deal with people on the event day anyway. So we're running the event a little bit differently this time as opposed to if you've worked at Rottnest before. We've got a bit of a structure in place. So as you guys are probably well aware, I've sent out some briefing notes to everyone. So if you haven't already read those, I need you to make sure you read and understand all of those notes before you get to site. It talks about roles, positions, what the expectations are, and a bit of general info about the actual event itself, including some maps, some layouts and everything else like that. So I really need you to go through that in detail and make sure you thoroughly understand all the information inside of it, because that's going to be our guideline to how we're going to operate on the day. So anyone who's working at the front entrance, it's really critical that we're really welcoming and friendly and making these people feel like this is a really great experience. You know, for some of these people, they don't get to see these kind of acts all the time, so we want them to really come in welcoming. We're the face of the establishment. We want them to come in and have that right mindset from the get-go. There's a number of prohibited items. You'll see those in the briefing notes that we've made. And just so you know, if it comes to any folding chairs, any eskies or anything else of that nature, there is no storage facility that Rottnest Hotel have for them. They're going to have to find a solution themselves. So I don't know what that looks like, whether they've got a boat that they have to take it back to or whatever the case may be. The reality is the Rottnest Hotel won't have a storage facility, and those prohibited items won't be welcome into the actual venue themselves, and they're going to have to find somewhere else to store them. Obviously, at the front door, make sure those prohibited items are not coming through. We're going to have to be doing bag checks as people come through the actual event itself. If you're doing bag checks, please make sure you're not putting your hands inside people's bags. You're really approachable with individuals. They might have some sensitive items in those bags. Who knows what's in there? It's just our approach is to go in there, make sure the prohibited items aren't in there, ask them to open the bag, ask them to pull out stuff if we can't see underneath things. But the reality is it's a soft, gently approach when we're dealing with people in their bags and their own personal items. If you're inside the venue's been split up into zones, as you'll see on Appendix 5 of the briefing notes. So what that means is you'll have a lead person that you'll be working with. At the moment, it's either going to be Peter Hua, Chris Lovett, Priyash, or it's going to be Darren Shaper or Jacob on the front door, Jacob Wentholt. So what will happen on the day is you'll be allocated to one of those particular zones. If you're in one of those zones, you'll be identified and selected to go into a particular position. In those particular positions, we need those positions locked down. They need to remain staying in those positions at all times. The supervisor or the lead person in your particular area will be responsible for making sure that you get rotations, breaks, whatever the case may be. It'll either be based on operational requirements. If we've got a number of issues that are happening on the day, it'll be in and around those times. Alternatively, with rotations every 1 to 2 hours, we're going to be looking to do a rotation round to make sure that everyone gets a bit of a change of pace and moves to a different location. But I just need to be very clear that if you're put into a fixed position, you need to remain in that position at all times. Which leads me to dealing with any incidents or anything of that nature. So when it comes to communicating with any patrons, so if we're monitoring behaviour or whatever the case may be, and we've seen that someone's on someone's shoulders and it looks unsafe, or they're standing on a table, whatever the case may be, our role first and foremost in those types of situations is just to coach the individuals to come down safely and make sure they have a good night. It's a different story if they continue to do that same pattern over and over again, but in the first instance, it's just to coach them. Hey, can you get down? Just need you to come down. It's unsafe where you are, whatever the case may be. But as long as it's a coaching conversation first and foremost, and we get that conversation done nice and early. If we see someone that seems to be showing signs of intoxication, we want early communication with that individual. We want to make sure that they're getting some water into them, they're moderating their drinks, and we're having those conversations nice and early. If it's at the point where it's deemed that they are going to be cut off from the bar because they've had too much to drink, the person will need to be removed. We need to do that as safely and as easily as possible with minimal contact, if not none, prevailing everything goes well. But once again, if you're in a static position and you're noticing those individuals, the first point of call, and before any person gets removed out of the venue, I want one of those supervisors or lead people from those particular areas to take the responsibility of doing that. They're the people that are actually going to be escorting the individual out to the closest or nearest exit that we have, and they're the ones that are going to take over and take responsibility for that eviction. In saying that, I need that person to stay exactly where they are, monitor, make sure they get out safely, and then go from there. Once an eviction's taken place, there's a few key things that need to happen. It needs to go to your closest, nearest emergency exit or nearest exit that you have to you. We need to make sure that we're clearly communicating back to the front door. And what they need to know is why the person's been removed, what they look like, a bit of a description on the individual and the situation, and we need to know who was the person responsible for removing them. That's going to get logged at the end of the night, and if we've got a number of incidents, we need to make sure that we can track all of those incidents when we have to go and do the reporting at the end of the night. So it needs to be very clear in terms of communication, and at the same time, we need to make sure we have enough of the information. So one, we don't let that person in at the front door, and two, we can categorically write that down in the shift report, which will then get translated to the incident reports. The wristband will need to be removed if possible, which means if it's going to turn into a physical because of the wristband, then we just leave it and we just make sure our comms are really clear with the front of house. But it just needs to be really set, guys, that we have positions in place, static positions that need to remain there at all times. If we're going to remove someone, we need to make sure that the supervisor makes that call and or venue manager of the venue, but the supervisor will take responsibility in that specific area to remove that person out of the venue near the closest exit, and we'll take care of the communications exactly from there. In the event of an injury, so if there is a patron that has cut themselves, hurt themselves, whatever the case may be, we'll need to make sure one, we go and see that individual, and if they have the ability and they're mobile enough to, and it's safe enough to take them to the first aid tent, there's going to be an event health services on site, which are responsible for, they're going to be nurses, so they're going to be responsible for all the first aid. So we'll either guide them to the area, and my view would be that the supervisor will actually direct them and take them to that spot. Alternatively, if for whatever reason we can't lift them because it's a large laceration or whatever the case may be, then what we're going to do is we're going to control the area, make sure they're nice and safe. We're going to call the radio, we're going to make sure that we get the event health services online, and we're going to clearly articulate where they are so that they can come out to the position that they need to come to. It needs to be said that part of this event is on the beach. So whilst there'll be plastic cups, there is going to be wine bottles there. So if there is any smashed glass, we need to make sure that we are notifying bar staff immediately, and that's getting picked up and removed. But also, if you see people walking around with no shoes on, which is probably going to be the case at some point, just make sure they're putting their shoes back on, just in the event that there isn't any glass or broken glass anywhere on the ground. If there is talk about the weather changing. Obviously today is a beautiful day, being Saturday, but tomorrow it's meant to be a little bit cooler, and there is chance of rain in the afternoon. Don't know what that looks like, obviously, but in the event that there is rain or there is an emergency evacuation that needs to take place, that call will only come from either one of two people, the police or the venue manager, who will make that decision. And it could be a partial evacuation or a full evacuation. You will be notified just like everybody else via the PA system. And if for whatever reason the PA system's down, we'll have some large megaphones, and we'll be letting everyone know there's an evacuation. Anyone that's working on the emergency evacuation, on the emergency gates, will be responsible for opening every single gate to ensure, and I'm sure we will make sure there's a call over the radio that's emergency evacuation, open all gates. All gates will need to be open. No one will be allowed back into the venue, and everyone will need to be escorted out of the venue and out to safety. And there'll be two main muster points, one to the left-hand side of the venue, one to the right-hand side. If you look at your briefing notes, you'll see that clearly articulated where the muster points are and everything else like that. So, look, it's just really important that our main objective as security out on site is to make sure that everyone has a positive experience coming to the venue, all the patrons. That's first and foremost, and of course that everyone's safe and we protect everyone. So, look, guys, it's a great lineup. Everyone keeps telling me how good these bands are. I don't know any of them, so I don't know whether it's because of my age or maybe my taste. I'm not really too sure, but look, it's going to be a great day out there. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. We've got roughly around 38 security staff on the day. Forgot to mention we're lucky enough to have Nick Panos, who's looking after back of stage, and also at the same time he's taking care of the green room, some of the artists. So Nick Panos has got 5 guys that are coming along with us to help us out. So look, it's going to be a great day. Really going to make the most of it and enjoy it. I want you guys to enjoy it too, but at the same time we need to remain professional. We need to do our job as well. So guys, thanks very much for listening. I'll look forward to seeing you on the day. When you come up, please make sure that you come to the front entrance, ask for Jacob. What he'll do is he'll guide you around the back entrance, and I'll come and meet you there to sign on. We'll make sure you got your high vis. Make sure you guys are looking sharp, looking professional. All the details have been sent out to you, and we'll go from there. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow. All smiles, should be good. Take care. Bye.